Oh wow, much better. Okay. Here we go. Hi you guys. I'm excited. Back to thinking about music again. I mean, thinking about how to explain music again. My brain always think about music. I'm sure a lot of you guys do. It's just when you actually have to talk about it to other people, like when you have to put all your emotions or knowledge into words, it gets interesting. So, anywho, enough chit chat. Topic of the day is called fuzzy boundaries, because basically it just means we don't know how to do transition. Basically that's what that means. Problem: dolls tend to automatically structure material in blocks, often called clips or regions, with clearly defined beginnings and endings. So, like I said, basically just the problem of going from this section to this section, this transition period. I think a lot of people find it kind of challenging to make it refreshing, if you know what I mean. Because if you've been listening to music for a certain period of time, our ears already get used to a certain way of music transitioning to one session to another session. So I'm always intrigued to find new ways to do it, or even just to really learn how other people do it so I can break it. It's always cooler to learn the rules than break the rules. Instead of just like, oh, I don't follow rules, I just break everything without knowing why or how. I think that really, yeah, separate you from just so musicians. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to be real. Alright, so let's get into it. As we know, I'm going to use a song form to explain, just like the book did. It usually starts with a clip, and then we make it into a phrase, and then that becomes a song section, and then eventually the whole song. Again, being very general right now. The book provides us with 3 different solutions before going into much in-depth details on how you can actually do it. So we're just gonna quickly go through 3 quick solutions that you can already do right now. Number 1, extending material from the previous section in one or more, but not all tracks. Number 2, retracting material from the previous section in one or more, but not all tracks. Number 3, deleting material on either side of the formal boundaries in one or more tracks. So yeah, I mean, these 3s, I believe you guys can just do it on your own. It's very easy. It's really not hard. One of the things the book mentioned, which I find it quite interesting, is that I never thought of using silence to blur the transition. I think I have a bad habit of I would always want to fill the space. Though I don't make that kind of decision anymore, but during my earlier days of music production, I definitely would feel the need to just like fill everything and add a lot of tracks and just basically make it like a festival, like a lot of tracks happening. Every track for sure is over 100, which is not necessary. Not that it's wrong. Some tracks need it. I don't know. Some tracks just needed 100 tracks. I paused because I just remember the latest track that we are about to put out, I think in next week or so, for Floatingspaces. I remember it was 110 tracks. So that's that. But a lot of the other tracks that I made, they are definitely under 100, because this year's my challenge to myself is that to say enough with under 100 tracks, and ultimately I want to make it under 50, because with string is actually not a negative thing. Sometimes because of we have too much freedom, we don't know how to manage our creativity. I say it because I've been making music for more than a year, so I don't think I should be just go nuts anymore. I think I need to advance myself and just keep improving as a musician. That's what I believe. Like, yeah, others don't have to agree with me, but I demand a lot from myself, and if I see areas or opportunities I can grow, yeah. In photography or in marketing, they call it white space, which is like the negative space, which has nothing in it. However, it's extremely important because it gives you a sense of moment to breathe or to regroup, etc., etc. Okay, so 2 points that the book point out could be more advanced way to do it is number 1 called anticipation, and number 2 is called hesitation. And now we're going to talk about number 1 first. Drum fills are a common technique used to create a sense of transition from one section to another, but it's common to hear drum fills that lead out of one section and then end precisely on the downbeats of the next session. Again, classic way of doing things. Here's another one. The energy peaks at the downbeats of bar 3. This is often musically effective, but it can sometimes feel just very forced. That's the right word to use, or just been overdone. Still effective though. But if you want to do something different, then do something different other than this. But this is safe. It will definitely work. So nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. So here's the real anticipation technique comes in. And slightly early than expected, reaching the peak of a fill slightly before the downbeat. For example, can create an interesting shift in the flow of musical time. This can be particularly effective if the actual downbeat is de-emphasized somehow, perhaps by stopping the drum entirely until the second beat of the next section, and then re-entering with a crash or some other moments that emphasize the sense of musical ending. So basically, energy peaks before the downbeat, followed by silence and a re-entrance on beats 2. Once again, instead of the energy peak on beat 1, like da 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 da. So instead of, okay, I'm gonna do a simple conducting. Am I even in focus? Okay, so we're gonna count together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? So instead of bam, maybe you can do da da dun 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 or something like that. Well, that was a horrible imitation of drum fill, but you get the idea. So now it's hesitation. I don't think I've tried this technique yet, so this might be something new for me as well. Okay, try writing a drum fill that lasts longer than expected, extending over the formal boundary between the sections and ending after the rest of the musical material has already changed to the new section. In these cases, it often works well if there's no sharp emphasis on the end of the fill, and instead the drums of the new section simply take over as seamlessly as possible after the fill. It's quite interesting. Okay, I'm gonna try that. And you know what, guys? So all these technique that the book suggested, it says it's for drum fill, right? But if you really think about it, it can apply to any kind of instrument. And the way I would say it is you can apply in any kind of sound, any kind of anything, basically. Because the key point is to how to create that excitement again, how to bring people from one session to another session again. So it's not necessarily only applied to drums. So get creative. Until then, for next Monday, we will be covering the topic of creating variations. It has different little segments of the same topic. It's all under creating variation. So the first one is going to be mutation of notes. To find out what